Destiny 2 players on Reddit, Twitter, the Bungie forums, everywhere really, are sounding off in their frustration. They're calling Bungie leaderless and out of options. Let's jump into today's article. We got 2 months after promising a roadmap, Bungie's silence has fans calling Destiny 2 leaderless and out of options now. 2 months after Bungie said a roadmap was coming in the next few weeks, Destiny 2 players are worried about the game's direction as its player count hits record lows, and the records are beating the records. It's a daily plummet. Even as I'm recording this video right now, it's reset time on a Thursday, which is usually a pretty peak time. We got 10,000 people in here. Destiny 2 is chugging along, but it's hard to ignore just how quiet things have gotten. Bungie hasn't been saying anything. I don't know why they're not saying anything. At least just give us, an idea, a loose roadmap, right? Even Destiny Bulletin gave us this roadmap here, this is all Bungie's information. This is not community speculation. This is what has been talked to us or told to us so far. You've got Shadow and Order. You've got Shattered Cycle. You've got The Alchemist. We've got a schedule up until 2027. So let's expand on this a little bit, fill in the gaps. And honestly, let's have a frank conversation about the success and failures of Edge of Fate so far. That would be great. I think everyone would be a fan of that. Right now, Festival of the Lost is live, which added new and returning weapons, new armor sets, and an updated version of the Altars of Sorrow activity called Haunted Altars. But even with all this, it's clearly not doing enough to bring players back. That's true. They actually did cook a little bit more with Festival of the Lost in some ways because they, even if it's a recycled area, it's kind of a newish activity. And I think it was better than Solstice this year, even though Solstice was hyped because it actually helped alleviate the power grind. It at least had its own standalone activity. So I would put this a notch above Solstice. And the effect that Solstice had on the population was actually incredible this year. A lot more people logged in and played, but a lot less people are playing this. Maybe it's due to the bugs, soft locks, things like that. Who knows? In fact, interest has dropped so low that the game's population recently fell to its lowest point in franchise history, even dipping below the infamous Curse of Osiris lows from 2018, a period Bungie once said nearly killed the game. On Steam, the game has hit what appears to be its lowest ever concurrent Steam player count of 6,800 players. 6,000 players during off-peak hours, with monthly average players down more than 65% since July of 2025. That's tough. For longtime players, it's not just the numbers that sting, it's the silence. This is what it is for me, okay? Listen, the population can be low. That's all right. Just tell us what the future is, you know what I'm saying? If we're experiencing, adversity, just talk about that adversity and be like, hey, we tried to deliver this portal thing and it flopped. We're sorry. And we are kicking it into full gear to get ourselves out of this ditch. I would appreciate that a lot. I think that would be really cool. I think it's cool to experience Bungie, talk about their struggles and, explain to us what's going on, why they made these decisions, what they're going to do and how they're going to not repeat those patterns, That's always, I think that's just fun because we already know, we know the studio so well. We've been in this crazy, chaotic, dysfunctional relationship, this toxic relationship with Bungie for 11 years now. Give us some communication here. One of the biggest frustrations across the community right now is Bungie's failure to deliver the roadmap it promised nearly 2 months ago during the Renegades reveal livestream on September 9th. Fans were hoping it might reignite some excitement about the future. Instead, week after week has gone by with no update in sight. Rough. Lack of Destiny 2 roadmap is making Bungie look leaderless, says Destiny 2 fans. I agree with this, especially because we do have leaders. We're literally paying crazy salaries to these leaders. You got Justin Truman, you got Tyson Green. Where are they at? This frustration recently boiled over on Reddit, where a post titled "Lack of Roadmap is Making Bungie Look Leaderless" shot to the top of the Destiny subreddit. So this is the most viral post on the Destiny subreddit, is calling this out. The post argued that Bungie's silence is starting to feel like a lack of leadership, especially as the communication dries up. The user noted that Bungie's own messaging back in 2024 promised more transparency and a stronger connection with the player base. Nope. So that was a fucking lie. After months of waiting for any statement of vision, you start to ask, what's taking so long? To me, the best bet is likely politics inside the studio about who's in charge. It's that. And honestly, I think that there is a level of being scared. I think that it could be that the bubble has burst for Bungie. They've been floating. If you don't know how this game has been functioning for many years, they've been floating with a player base that matches the studio size as a really crazy phenomenon. So like notice that like a game like Anthem comes out and just like dies pretty shortly afterwards. And none of these other looter shooters can even compete with Destiny 2. Like just none of them. Like none of them even get close. Like maybe Warframe is the closest one, but it's not like the same. Doesn't have the same end game. Doesn't have the same, not even like first person game, which has added complexity. And so Destiny 2 has been just this like phenomenon of like, how do they pull this off? And obviously it's because of the microtransactions. Bungie is able to pull off the impossible and keep a game that is not that popular. Destiny 2 is not that popular of a game. They're able to keep a game that's not that popular alive and thriving and live service and updates, even amidst having a very small number of players because of the monetization strategies. They got crazy cosmetics. They got dungeon keys. We got annual passes. You got everything in this game, right? Everything is monetized to the highest degree. We call it free to play, but let's be real. There's nothing free to play about this game. And so you have this all set up for you, right? And so you're able to thrive or stay afloat, even with a much smaller population than any comparable game, considering you have like 500 plus employees, right? A lot of games that have this level of population, they have like 100, 200 employees. You know what I'm saying? They have like 100, 200 employees. Bungie's got like double, triple, quadruple some of these studio sizes, but the audience doesn't match that. That's the point I'm getting at. Is that the size of Bungie to the audience of the game that they create is disproportionate, but they're able to do so because of the microtransactions. But now, I'm not saying I know what their budget is now, but considering where we're at with the population, the bubble might have burst, You can only do that for so long. You can only over monetize for so long before eventually it hits maybe a breaking point. Maybe fewer people are buying microtransactions. Maybe fewer people are buying the DLCs. Obviously they are. I mean, we know that much, but that once that bubble bursts where you're miraculously staying afloat and suddenly you aren't, that's scary. That's going to set off like alarms in the studio. Like, holy crap, this is not what we intended post Final Shape. In the meantime, players sit at home and watch player counts drop, online sentiment curdle, and uninspired content drops rife with bugs land with a deafening thud, without so much as a promise of a better tomorrow to brighten their hearts. Nothing. That's a harsh quote right there. The user pointed to how previous game directors like Joe Blackburn and Luke Smith regularly addressed the community, but current director Tyson Green has stayed mostly behind the scenes. Tyson Green, like I said, he's got active camo on. You can't find him. He's definitely Hunter main. He stays invis 100%. Tyson Green is somewhere lost in the shadow realm. I have no clue where this guy is. Does he even know that he is the game director? Can someone get his phone number? Does he even know that he's the game director? I'm not sure. We might have to inform him at this rate. Even as Destiny's population drops and community frustration grows, with Pete Parsons stepping down as CEO and Justin Truman newly in charge, which was an interesting switch, right? We kind of thought, hey, let's get rid of Pete here and we'll get, someone else in. Justin Truman, maybe not the best fit considering his public image. But, the idea is you get someone new in there and maybe they freshen things up a little bit. That doesn't seem to be the case. All right. Justin Truman also not very talkative on social media, not communicating much at all. I'm not sure why. I think maybe they're just scared that everything they say will be weaponized and used against them. And I can understand where that fear comes from, especially in the social media age where people like to misinterpret people because it's entertaining and it's content and stuff like that. But I think that if you choose to just not communicate at all, then they're just going to create the worst narrative possible. You know what I'm saying? So now you have a narrative that Tyson Green is the game director and he just doesn't give a fuck about Destiny 2. That's what people are saying. And he's not saying anything to argue against it. So then that's just the narrative then. Tyson Green just doesn't care. And I'm not saying that's the truth. I'm sure he does care, but he's not willing to even say anything to combat that. So you're just left with you just get the worst of the worst of the worst, right? And then the same thing ends up happening with Justin Truman. We're like, Pete Parsons is the worst. We got to get rid of that guy. And so we do. And then this guy steps in and it doesn't seem like anything changes. So we're just like, well, F that guy too. It's like, it's bad. It's real bad. Saying nothing is probably the worst thing you can do in an era where everyone is saying everything. Everyone has a voice now. Everyone watching this is putting comments in the live stream. Everyone's going to watch this on the YouTube and they're going to give their comments, their opinions. They're going to give their opinions on the forums. We are in a communication meta. Everyone's communicating. Everyone has a voice. Everyone has input. everyone's talking about Destiny 2. It's state what they think it should be fixed. Should we do Destiny 3? I mean, the number of videos we've reacted to or talked about, should we make Destiny 3? Should we do this? Should we do that? I'm quitting Destiny 2. All of this stuff, right? Everyone has a voice. Everyone has input. Why do you, as the head of the company, think that not giving any communication is going to be a good approach? Where did you get that idea from? Who let you cook that? You know what I'm saying? Who let you cook that idea up? In a world where everyone is always talking, you want to stay perfectly silent. That's not a good strategy. One Reddit user questioned whether a roadmap would even help. Even if we get a roadmap, will it be a good roadmap that sets this franchise forward and one that the community likes? That's a good question. And it doesn't really matter whether it's a good roadmap or not, because it's about the transparency of what is to come for the franchise and for the future. So each individual will have their own subjective opinion about if the roadmap's good. And it's for them to decide based on what Bungie reveals and if they want to continue playing the franchise. And everyone's going to be different. Some people are going to see the roadmap and be like, yes, let's go. We're excited. It's going to have like this effect, right? I've talked about this before. This effect of like, all right, yeah, I'm really looking forward to that thing that's happening in, The Alchemist, right? The Alchemist in 2027. I'm really looking forward to that. That's what that would be right here. And others maybe not. But even still, whether it's good or bad, you still just have to do your job. You know what I'm saying? Just because the roadmap might be bad or might not help doesn't mean you just get out of doing your job. It's not going to help. I think part of the reason why they haven't released it so far is that they really don't have much of anything to offer differently other than what was already in their annual calendar. That's probably a fair assessment, which is basically this that Destiny Bulletin has put together. This is everything that's been revealed so far. They probably don't have a whole lot to add in between, but I think this, with the transparency of just talking about Destiny 2 and Edge of Fate and its shortcomings and the things that they're proud of, even with Edge of Fate, an honest and open conversation would be good. Like I said before, we've been attributing Edge of Fate and its problems due to this massive quality of life overhaul where Bungie implemented this crazy new system, the portal, and they had to take all these activities and repurpose them and add all these modifiers, right? And do all these crazy things to it. And it was because of that we didn't get a bunch of new content. It was because of that we didn't get a bunch of strikes, or maybe we got less lore like we were just talking about. And so we attribute that to the portal. We attribute it to the portal. But that's not what Bungie has said. Bungie hasn't said that. That's what we have come up with. This is not the roadmap. This is the unofficial roadmap, and this is from Bungie. This is Bungie's information. Quote, they know people have tuned out. They probably have an idea that there isn't much excitement about Renegades coming from who's left in their player base. So really, they're just out of options now. I know this has been said about this franchise forever, but I truly believe that if Renegades launches with the same half-baked content as Edge of Fate, with the same amount of bugs and with the same problematic major update, that will be it for this game. And I would say this, that I don't think it would be it for this game. I think that you would experience layoffs and there would just be more regression, basically. You'd see less content coming out of the game, and it's going to have a vicious cycle, but I imagine it would regulate at a certain point. Like Destiny will always have new things coming out. It's just they're going to have to continue to lay off people until they are profitable. And is it possible that they lay off too many people and they cannot stay profitable because of every time they lay off people, you get less content and then less people play, right? That is a possibility, but I think that that's a slow, bleeding type of death that we would experience over the course of many years. And I think that before it would reach its final end in that cycle, say that theoretical outcome, I think that Bungie would sell the IP before then. They'll sell it to NetEase, or Sony would sell it to NetEase or whatever. Sell it to another studio that's really passionate about the genre and let them have a crack at it, right? Or maybe launch a Destiny 3, right? Something like that. Who knows? But I don't think that Renegades is it for the game. I just think that Renegades is very indicative. Renegades will really point us to the direction that Destiny 2 is going. You know what I'm saying? Renegades is going to be a very clear indicator of all right, the future is looking good. We are so back. This right here. Renegades is going to point us in the direction. Hopefully it's here, right? Hopefully it's here. This is what we're looking for from Renegades. Or at least a mixed state, We'll take this. Honestly, we'll take this. What we don't want is this. All right, another added, I think that Bungie had big plans for expanding the portal over the next year, and those plans have been wrecked by Edge of Fate's poor reception. The portal likely entered development during Blackbird's tenure, considering that it was announced in September 2024. They can't just write it off and throw it away. They're in too deep. Unfortunately, salvaging this mess is no easier. And I would say to this that it's multifaceted. All right, so it's not just the portal bad. I know that there's a lot of Titan mains out there watching, like myself, and Portal bad is an easy way of looking at it, but it's multifaceted, meaning that there's a lot of different factors and things that are happening with the portal. It serves as like a conduit for how you log in and play the game. It serves for adding customizability and uniqueness, that replayability that you're looking for. I think that the biggest thing and the clearest message I could say is that the power grind integrated into the portal was the problem. The portal itself, it may not be that enticing. It may be kind of lackluster. I mean, you may not care about the modifiers or the uniqueness of, doing some years old mission, but this time you have Grappler on, or doing some years old mission, but this time you have on, I don't even know, Avant-Garde, right? Whatever, You may not care that much about that, but it does add some uniqueness, and it has a certain place in the game because Destiny 2 is a game that must be played over and over and over again. That's its like innate quality that it has to have. You have to play a strike, whatever the strike is. If there's a new strike that comes out, you have to play it like somewhere between like 20 to 200 times. Like that's the only way Bungie stays profitable is if you play it a lot. Now, the problem is that if you log in and you play it one time and you're like not burnt out on this, like that's the sirens, that's like the red flags for Bungie that they're really fucking up, And so, but that's what you're supposed to do from Bungie's perspective. They've talked about this many times before, but the average Destiny player plays longer than the average Call of Duty player, the average Halo player, the average any other FPS game player, period. That's just all across the board. Bungie and Destiny 2 and Destiny 1 clock in longer play sessions. And so that's what they're trying to get you to do. They're trying to give you a reason to log in and play for hours and hours and hours. And they thought that the power grind in tandem with tiered loot would work as, basically it would work as like a double-edged sword. You're going to get this really good loot. Hey, tier 5, it's super shiny. Hey, triple perks. Hey, it's pretty good, But it comes at a cost. You got to level up that power. You got to make number bigger, right? And in the process, I think that people were unhappy about that. The good didn't outweigh the bad, right? The tier 5 loot that is really enticing and interesting didn't outweigh the grind of that power level process. I think that is very bad. Like that's bad. Like imagine if everyone was like stoked about power leveling all of a sudden. Destiny would be so back. I mean, we would be here again. We'd be like, let's go. The problem is that we're like 11 years in and we have fatigued and we're not really interested about like leveling up a arbitrary number that means nothing in 6 months. Like, we're just going to make this number bigger and then in 6 months you're going to reset it and then we're going to do it again. It's like, you're going to need to do better than that. You're going to have to be a little more creative than that. We can't just use power leveling as the focal point. During the Renegades live stream on September 9th, Bungie's principal communications manager, Dylan Gaffner, told fans that the roadmap was coming in the next few weeks. On October 1st, he followed up saying the team was aligning on plans and timelines. Then on October 14th, Gaffner apologized for the long wait, saying there was still no ETA, but that the roadmap would be released as soon as it's ready. This roadmap has been the never-ending roadmap drama. Where is this thing at, dude? This is like the lost ark out here. Where the fuck is this roadmap? We're searching high and low. Where is this thing? Huh? Roadmap is more rare than a new map in Gambit. What's something we haven't got in Destiny in like forever? Roadmap more rare than a new strike. Now, nearly 8 weeks later, there's still no sign of it. A big hope among the remaining Destiny 2 fans is that roadmap. When it finally shows up, will bring some kind of reassurance about the long-term future of the game. That's true. But it's worth managing expectations. During the Renegades reveal, Gaffner called it the Road to Renegades, which suggests that the roadmap might just focus on the next expansion rollout, not what comes after. I mean, we're already at Renegades. There's nothing happening in the month of November as far as we know. So we need I would say at a minimum, we need a 2-year roadmap. 3 years? 3 years like this would be incredible, but at least a 2-year roadmap would be nice because the direction of the game feels aimless. Renegades, the Star Wars inspired expansion featuring new abilities, a social hub, and the Lawless Frontier activity is set to launch on December 2nd. Let's go. Unofficial Destiny 2 release roadmap. While Bungie still hasn't released an official long-term roadmap, we've put together a breakdown of all major upcoming content drops for Destiny 2 based on the currently known and expected release windows. So again, this is the roadmap. Like this isn't the official roadmap that Bungie's dropping, but this is the roadmap that they've already revealed of this stuff. So this is official Bungie news. Every time I pull this up, people are like, that's not from Bungie themselves. That's fake. I'm like, no, like this, no one just, who, you think this guy just made up The Alchemist? Like, come on, like this is from Bungie. So what do you think about the situation? I think that it's bad. It's real bad. It's only going to get worse by not communicating though. And even if you do communicate and everyone hates the roadmap, better to die doing the right thing than doing the wrong thing, in my opinion. All right. Go out like a samurai on his sword. Give us the roadmap. Let us talk about it. Do a dev live stream. Give us a state of the game article. Do everything. Throw everything in the kitchen sink at the community and let us feel the passion you have for this game and for not letting it die or even just dwindle. Okay. Even if the game doesn't die, we just don't want to see Destiny 2 struggle anymore. Destiny 2 has been a game that has been struggling for a long time. It's never been crazy popular. It's made billions of dollars, but it's never like top 10. It's never won Game of the Year. It's never even been mentioned for Game of the Year. Let's be real. You know what I'm saying? Destiny 2 has always been this kind of niche, obscure game that people kind of know about, but they don't really mess with it for various reasons, whether they, whether they don't want to play a grindy game is a complaint I see a lot, whether they don't like sunsetting in a game that's featured around loot, which is another complaint that I see a lot. Whatever reasons people have, Destiny 2 has always been an obscure game. It has been a niche within a niche, very small player base, but a very passionate group. And Bungie cannot afford to lose any more people. We can't afford to lose any more people. All right? We just had 2 massive rounds of layoffs. And obviously, when layoffs happen, there's going to be a recalibration of the finances, of money that goes in and out, the cash flow of the game, right? And I think that they're hoping that it would regulate at a certain point, but we're starting to see that what is the lowest point that Destiny can be at is significantly lower than kind of what we thought it would be at, right? What we thought would be the worst day ever in Destiny, we've gone past that now. We thought that it would never get as bad as Curse of Osiris. Like that's not even fathomable. Like that's not possible. Like Curse of Osiris is the worst it ever was. And we fixed a lot of problems and we'll never be back there again. That's been the sentiment for a long time now. And now Curse of Osiris looks significantly better than where we're at. That's how bad it's gotten. You would never think that that would be the outcome. You would never, ever think that that would be the outcome. It's crazy.